Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.
Welcome to Today Africa podcast, where we share inspiring conversation with remarkable individuals shaping the future of the continent. And joining me today is Bamigboye Shalom. He is the co-founder and CEO of Entobo, a startup that simplifies operation by improving workflows, streamlining processes, and boosting productivity. Shalom, you are welcome.
Thank you, Chukwemeka. Good afternoon, and I'm very happy to join you.
Many of us comes from a family with this ideology that states go to school, get a good grade, get a job, and raise a family. So I'm wondering what inspired you into flowing the path of entrepreneurship.
So, brief background. Yes, I came from a typical Nigerian family, and I think for a majority part of growing up, I never really identified entrepreneurship as something I wanted to do. There were things I wanted to do that were around entrepreneurship. But I think at the core of it was the fact that I wanted to solve problems. I was always eager to solve problems. I was somebody that was very critical of things that people do or what the system is doing. So if I was supposed to walk into a room and maybe there's blue light there and it's supposed to be green, I'm like, oh, this should have been green and it shouldn't be blue. And I think some of that would have just made me somebody who talks. But yeah, so growing up then, it then started translating into entrepreneurship. It was like, absolutely, you can actually take it up and solve problems that you encounter or that you experience as an individual. So yeah, my own journey into entrepreneurship was more of you see a problem, instead of talking, why not just take up the responsibility of solving it?
Why the name Entobo Technologist? Why choose that name?
So it's actually a very funny story behind Entobo Technology. So when myself and my co-founder actually sat down to find a name for our idea at that point, um, so we had names that we had identified, and every time we checked for availability, we had to pay like thousands of dollars to be able to use the name. So he jumped on the phone with another friend and said, "Oh, we started a company and we are trying to find a name for this company." And then that person said something, and I think the network was bad. And he just said, Entobo was like, you know what, that's the name. So we checked and it was available. Yeah. From time to time, people ask me, how did you come about this name and why the name? What's the meaning of the name? It doesn't necessarily have a meaning, but I think it's now our responsibility to find the meaning for the name.
Okay, all right. So what does Entobo Technologies offer to people? What are the services? What are the products people are offering?
As much as organizations are beginning to adopt technology, you kind of discover that things happen in silos. So specifically, before I moved into entrepreneurship completely, before I resigned and I focused on Entobo full time, I used to work with a consulting firm where or I used to work in the consulting arm of a technology firm, and we dealt with over 100 clients. And specifically myself, I had to answer to about 45 of those clients. And and so I spent a lot of time trying to get my communication in one piece, trying to get feedback from the business development team, and then working with the project team itself, and also getting feedback from the project team from the other end. And I discovered that I spent more time trying to aggregate things that were happening in silos in order for me to be able to smoothly deliver value to our clients. And so that's the base idea behind what we do at Entobo. We are trying to simplify workflow such that teams can move away from working in silos and then they can work within the same space. So what we do at Entobo, in very practical terms, is we bring your business communication, that's the CRM aspect, and your project management and then collaboration into one space. So you can collaborate with your teammates, with your colleagues or your subordinates effectively right in the same space, and your clients also come into the same space. They can also see what they need to see, so the information is managed. You don't need a lot of back and forth like you have it the way we have it in the traditional workspace. So as opposed to some communications happening in your email or on your WhatsApp, and then you need to move that into Jira, and then you need to so essentially what Entobo does is simplifies these things, simplifies your entire workflow, especially as a service delivery firm, into the same space. So we currently have our MVP, which is out, and what we are trying to do is we've been getting a lot of positive reviews, and we are looking at building an AI agent or agentic AI to actually simplify workflows the more. So yeah, basically.
What have been the challenges that you people have been facing, and how have you people been handling it, overcoming these challenges?
For this side of the world, let's be honest, because I actually live in England. But for Nigeria and maybe Africa extensively, I think one of the biggest challenges we have with doing business is we're a lot mechanized. There is there needs to be some sort of move or some sort of transformation into understanding that things can be automated. So a lot of businesses that you even see, you say, you know what, you actually have these challenges. I don't know, they're probably a little more comfortable trying to do things the hard way than to really adopt automation. Yeah, so as much as you meet businesses who are absolutely ready, they want to adopt what you do, you see discover that a lot of business owners in Nigeria and maybe Africa as a whole, they are a bit we still need more education around the impact of technologies and the vast amount of possibilities of how we can make more money by adopting technology. Yeah, so that's one. On the implementation and building side, I think one of the challenges that we've heard, I mean, power is actually like a primary challenge. We had some internet issues when we were about to start this call. When I came back to Nigeria a few weeks back, I think for like 3 days, I was decapitalized. I almost couldn't do anything. It was very difficult to even get phone calls across. So that has hampered productivity for some of our staffs who are on this side of the world. And yeah. So that one, I mean, the power, which is by extension, then you have the network, which is an issue. That is on productivity side, but on adoption side, I think I think a lot of businesses still need education, and that's part of the reasons why I love to appear on podcasts like this or on platforms where you can really talk and explain to business owners the power of technologies and how they can actually do business and even make more money by adopting technology.
You talked about educating business owners on the impact of using technology to make more money. So, what has your brand or your startup been doing to help educate these businesses to understand that technology has come to stay, and when you use it, it will help you make more money as a business owner?
Yeah. So part of what we've identified or what we are actually trying to do is we are partnered with a UK firm to produce content, easily digestible content, and those will be rolling out before the end of second quarter this year. That's Q2 2025. We have partnered with this firm, and we have partnered with this firm to bring out educative content. We have also been speaking to a lot of people on ground. We are trying to collaborate uh, with accelerators, OBS, and MSMEs associations and what have you, local associations of business owners. We have been speaking to people, trying to reach some sort of synergy or relationship in order for us to continue to educate and bring the gospel of technology and how it has even simplified workflow and here to people. So because sometimes I think some of the conversations we have in this side of the world, we probably are a bit putting the cart before the horse. We speak a lot about AI in this side, and you go to places, for instance, probably a five-star hotel, somewhere in Lagos. Uh, we're trying to drive in, and they needed about four persons to check us. Somebody was scribbling number plates in a paper and it was sweating in the sun. Somebody had to carry some mechanical device to check us out. Someone came to, so about four persons had to attend to us. And I said, um, it- I think it's a bit premature that we're talking about AI as a country, whereas where certain things that we shouldn't really be doing manually, we are still doing them. So, and that go back to what I said about, I'll go back to my first point, which is around the fact that we still do a lot of our business in a mechanized manner. So, yeah. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell people, yes, these things can be a lot easier than you're doing it. Because what then happens is if you can adopt technology or if we can solve your problem for you, is you then have more time. You then have more time to either be functional to your family or you have more time to even chase more money, depending on whatever you value. But ours is to remove the stress from your table. And what we're trying to tell you is these things you can remove stress. That's the point of AI. AI is supposed to come in to enhance human efforts. It's supposed to mean that where you probably had to use a tractor before, all you need to use now is a spoon to get your job done. Yeah.
You said something about how we here in Nigeria are still doing something mechanized. Don't you think that we in Nigeria are trying to jump from point one to point three, whereby we have not really handled our point two, which is trying to put some basic things in place that will help technology or the use of AI function very well. Like you said, in terms of development, we can't compare ourselves with developed countries. So don't you think that there are some
Yeah.
certain things that we need to do first as a country?
I get your point, right? I get your point, and it's two forms for me. Like I said, as a personal principle, I don't like to talk. I like to, rather than talk, I want to try and do, right? Rather than talk, I want to do. And again, like I said, that is actually what moved me into wanting to do something. Right? So I want to solve real problems, right? So yes,
Yeah.
there are problems. There are problems on ground. I mean, I think except we just want to be blind or want to be ostriches, there are problems on ground that we all know. I mean, I think the biggest elephant in the room is the power issue in Nigeria. And the truth is, if we continue to dwell on the fact that we probably don't have what we want to refer to as the basics to sorting these things out, or what we think are the platform that we need to build upon for us to move into fully adopting AI, I think the world will be gone before we realize what is happening. So while we are trying to sort out what is the basic, I'm of the opinion, and maybe that's the entrepreneurial mindset for me, that we need to make do with what we have in the meantime while we are trying to sort out or solve these problems. I say every time that we are still battling with issues that have been sorted 50 years ago in some countries. Mm. Despite that, we have kept up the energy. We compete very well on the global stage in business. Our businesses, we have some major startups that have even sprung out of Nigeria, despite all the challenges. So I tell people every time, you know what, there would always be challenges, even in these terrains that you're talking about in Europe or in America. There are also challenges that are unique to those terrains. So these are our own issues. These are the problems that we have, but we can't dwell on the fact that there are problems, then we don't move in the direction of what the world is moving. So we can't, there are issues clearly. We have power issues, which, I mean, you can't be talking about AI without having steady electricity or steady power. So that is a problem that we have that probably doesn't have a solution tomorrow. But we can't, because of that, then stay or afford to lag behind. We can't. We can't. So the entrepreneur in me is like, you know what? Yes, there are issues. There will always be issues, but we must just make do with what we have to keep moving. We need to develop AIs that solve African problems, that understand Africa, that understands Nigeria. We need to solve AI. We need to develop AI agents or LLMs that speak our own language, that understands our context, that can speak or that can translate Igbo, Igbo metaphors, Igbo proverbs, Yoruba proverbs, right? We need AIs that understand how we do business. We no longer can afford to lag behind or adopt what was built for other environments. So there would always be issue, but the entrepreneur, the solution mindset has to come, and we need to make Nigeria work. We need to make Africa work for Africans and for the future. So yes.
How did you raise capital for your business?
So far we are bootstrapped. A bootstrap. Myself, my co-founder, and a friend. We've been running the company out of pocket so far.
Since you launched, what strategies are people using attracting and retaining customers or clients?
So we've been doing the footwork. I mean, literally, we we go to events. Attend events in the UK. You try to pitch to them. You say, oh, you know what, I can do this for you. We can do this for you. They talk to people. Uh, Basically, we've just been offering value. We say, you know what, this is what we can do for you. And if we are meeting them at the point of their needs and they're happy, we will come on board and we continue to hire out the relationship from there.
What key lesson have you learned in your journey as an entrepreneur?
I think it still goes back to uh, what I said earlier uh, about problems and solving them. I think I think one of the problems we have in Nigeria, I mean, and this is from a purely personal point of view, is that we have more talkers than doers. I think a lot of us are more interested in talking, to be fair. I think a lot of us are more interested in talking than actually absolutely solving problems, right? And in order for us to make this country work, we need to move away from the phase of talking into actually tackling real issues. We need to start. I understand and I agree that there is a role that the government plays in developing the country. I mean, when you come from the angle of policy making, infrastructure, there is a lot that the government has to do. But uh, there is an adage in Yoruba that that says something around, if they were to cook in granite shell and they pan yam in a leaf, the person who will be filled, something roughly like that. Just to translate that, you need to make do with, no matter the shape in which the opportunities are coming, you need to make do with whatever is available to get some value. So I think that a lot of things need to change in Nigeria. Let's be very honest. We need to change a lot of things, but the work will not be done by us just talking. We all just people need to stand up. A lot of us are young. Um, Africa is the youngest continent in the world. I think there are about 100 million fit youth that can enter the workforce in Nigeria, if my stat is correct. Honestly, we need to be looking at the blueprint of countries like China to say, you know what, um, can we make a difference? Can we make some sort of shift? I think if a lot of people adopt the mindset of, okay, if I'm going to live here, at least the 1% shift from when I was here. So if I am to look at this problem and try to solve it in code, what can I do to just make this space 1% better than the way I met it? If we continue to do this, we notice that we would actually find out that we would have made a great improvement in maybe in another decade. We might be talking of Nigeria in a completely different light. So that's one. Another thing I think I've noticed or I've learned is that we do a lot of training programs in Nigeria, but a lot of young people are still lacking in the skills part. There is a whole lot of we go to school, we learn a lot of theoretical things, but I think we are struggling when it comes to the application of this knowledge into real life, or how it translates to real life and really making money or delivering value. So honestly, we need to move away from just training or going to school or learning. We need to find a way that the skills now translate into what is required in the job market. And I think that is one dichotomy that continues to exist between what we receive in school or our training centers, what actually really or should happen when you get to work or when it comes to delivering value. So it's sometimes almost it is almost as if the school doesn't prepare you for the realities of Nigeria. So you just make somebody and then drop them into a completely different world. I think the school should I think the school or the training centers should inculcate some reality um, into what is the situation of Nigeria and what is expected from them as a young person. Honestly, it is very tough. It is very tough.
How did you build systems and processes that help the smooth running of your business?
We are a very agile team, and we some of the things we adopt agile methodology. We're still a very tiny team, so I think much of the conversations are things are very easy to disseminate. So maybe we don't have like a behemoth of the system so far. Still a very young company, and we're very few in the organization. So I can't say that we have put this in place or we are putting things in place. There are paperwork. There are people who understand what they're expected to do. It's clear. You know what your goals are, what your tasks are. You're not confused, right? When you turn up in the morning, you know what you're expected to achieve for the day. And I think that's very important to getting what is called an organization. If not, you have a disorganization. So there are clear job responsibilities. There are clear expectations. There are KPIs. So yeah,
What advice would you give to others, to the younger ones who want to venture into entrepreneurship or who are just starting their business?
I think entrepreneurship is very glamorous, but honestly, when people it can be hard. It can be a very lonely journey. It can be very hard. It can be a very lonely journey. Uh, But on easy like the head, where's the crown? I think somebody said that. Entrepreneurship is for people who are ready to stay there, despite the fact that they can see everything going wrong. In fact, the difference between firm, a successful firm, yeah, or an organization, the owners or the founders, is that they were consistent enough, despite everything that was going wrong or that is going wrong, to continue to turn up every day and say, you know what, I'm just resolute. You have to make this thing work. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to reinvent the company. I didn't mention this, but we initially didn't set out to simplify workflows. Initially, what we thought we were trying to do or what we wanted to do was to build a customer relationship management solution, which is just now a part of what we are doing. And the initial vision was to build a CRM and then build X and then build Y and then build Z. And then we started talking to people, right? We started talking to people. I think we spent about 5 months building a CRM. And then by the time we were getting feedbacks, we figured that, the way we were thinking about the solution wasn't even it. We needed to rethink the way we were thinking about the solution. We went back to the drawing board, very hard. It's done something that you're probably emotionally attached to. An entrepreneur cannot afford to be emotionally attached to their work. Yes, you have to be emotionally attached to it to the extent that you want to make it work. It's your baby. But you must prioritize the market feedback. You must prioritize solving a problem. You don't want to do it for your family to use it. Very unlikely that the solution you are building, your family will adopt it. And building a startup is a game of numbers. It's not an art. It's not art where if you draw it and one person loves it or appreciates it, then you're a winner. You're good. Entrepreneurship is about numbers. If you're speaking to customers, they want to know how many persons you have onboarded. If you're speaking to investors, they want to know how many customers you've gotten. If you're speaking to a customer, it wants to know how you can solve their problem. So you need money to solve their problem. And you just see that everything is all about numbers. It's a game of numbers every day, every time. So as soon as you discover that you're probably not solving the problem you thought you wanted to solve, or maybe it's what you even thought was a problem is not a problem. You must be agile enough and resolute in your own belief, in your own self to reinvent and move in the direction of what the market is saying or the feedbacks that you're getting. So you might have like a perfect product in your head, but if it doesn't solve a problem, it's useless. It's useless. So you can't be too obsessed with that perfect product that you think that you're not working on the feedback that you get. I see a lot of people, especially younger people, they have very interesting ideas that might not really be solving real world problems. But I think maybe those things come with age. So when people tell me their ideas, sometimes I can tell how old they are. I can tell how old they are from their startup ideas. With time, when people continue to apply their ideas to real world, you see that the idea start refining itself. There are tendencies or greater tendencies for you to get it right.
Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.